Hi everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Tomorrow is a rain day and we have a project ahead of us. Trying to buy siding the right size for the back of this garage has proven to be near impossible. Somebody laid this nice concrete pad and then they mounted a basketball hoop up here. When we bought the house, even the window on the back was smashed. We did get around to replacing that and never bothered to trim it out because all these years we have not been able to find the siding. So overall, for a 1950s garage, it's held up pretty well. There was a cracked board on this side, and on the opposite side, the ground level was too high and it needed to be graded away. So that's been taken care of months ago. It's dried out. You can caulk the cracks, but in a home inspection for a real estate sale, they're gonna notice things like that and suggest that you get it swapped out. Midwinter, that's not something that you can do. However, midwinter, it may be covered with snow. In case of a thaw, I'd rather just go ahead and fix it, right along with the backside. It's much easier to do those repairs now than in the freezing cold, like I said, and better to do it while you've already got the tools out than to be called back on a job. So this is a sample board of what we have ordered in the past, and it's slightly wider than the 1/2 inch that we originally have, which is okay. It was still doable. And this is a brand new piece. You can see that it does sometimes come split, and it's unfortunate. So this is a cedar, as you can see, but it's not the really brown cedar that we've seen at big box stores. So that 320 feet was gonna cost us $1,340.80 plus tax and delivery. Well, this is a sample we had gotten previously, and it was around $2 something a linear foot. $25 delivery fee worked out really well. We found a way around delivery. We got some garage door panels earlier this year, 14 feet, and we can fit them right through there, all the way up to the dash, with a red flag on the back of the car. So we are off to a lumber company in a town that has lots of old and Victorian homes, and we're going to go get some siding. So the convenience of the two, I think 19 to 239 with the delivery is really handy to just have it show up, but trying to meet the person so that they don't just leave it there can be tricky for us. And just because of the location where it's at, we don't really want a lumber truck showing up and nobody being there to receive it or sign for it or inspect it to make sure that it's correct. The lumber company we found is in Owosso, Michigan, which is quite a drive for us, but they had it in stock because of it being an old town with homes like that, garages, carriage houses, things like that. They said it's very common and they sell a lot. So the company that we had used before was Carter Lumber in Lansing, and they have other lumber companies all around the state. Okay, we are going to Valley Lumber in Owosso. Keep in mind, if you're using a lumber company, they're not like the big box stores. You're directly dealing with a guy at a desk and the people out in the lumber yard, and they have business hours. So a lot of these lumber companies deal with contractors and builders, and they're no longer open on the weekends. So they close at 4 o'clock on the weekdays, closed on the weekends. So we gotta hustle and get on over there. We've also got a bit of snow coming right now, and we're gonna be having this sticking out of the tailgate. So of course I'm bundled up and I got my gloves in the bag. So as you can see, we have our siding, and we rigged it all up so that we could have boards underneath to help support it. Without that, they were wanting to point downwards at the ground and put too much strain with the curve, and then pinned in boards on the upper section. I can show you when he's got the trunk lid open. Here is our sample from what we got previously that we thought was too thick. Theirs is slightly thinner, so I think it's going to be a perfect match for what we're going for than going back to the Carters that we had ordered from previously. So part of the trick was wedging that board right there so that they weren't wanting to go up higher in the front. and then dip lower in the back. And then all these scrap pieces of wood here help support all of this. Now, if you're wondering about painting, and if you're watching this video currently, it's December and it's about 10 days before Christmas. We're going to paint these indoors in the basement. And because they are 16 feet long, he wanted to do the back of the garage with the least amount of seams as possible. We took it right through our new basement window. We just took the screens out. So, close this up. And then these were in an outdoors shed at the lumber company without heat, so they're gonna get all warmed up and dried out in here today, and I'll come and start priming them and painting them tomorrow. These are pre-primed already, but for the color of our house with that bright blue, I wouldn't get one coat coverage with the paint, and I'm low on paint. So I'm gonna paint them with the blue primer first, then go back and hit it with the paint a couple hours later. So the hardest part about 16 footers usually is trying to get them home, because most homeowners' trailers are anywhere from 8 to 12. Our long trailer is 14 feet that we haul hay on. This worked out really good the way we did getting this home. The second challenge is having the room to lay them out to paint them, because we have 25-ish degrees outside today, and these have got to get painted. So primer is cheaper than paint, so I want you to keep that in mind. I have had these all laid out for roughly 24 hours. We use boards on all of our edges. I'm using the washer and dryer over there and another ledge. I've got one here because there's a single sawhorse, and then a bunch here. We've got 25 boards in total, and as you can see, I'm starting to prime them. I'm using this Bullseye by Zinsser. It's 123. It helps hide any knots or bleed throughs, which you can get with Cedar. Now, we were really lucky that these are pre-primed, but because I'm not using a sprayer, when you brush this on, it's so smooth, you get streaks. And because primer is cheaper than paint, especially this kind of primer, we painted the whole outside of the house 15 years ago, and it has held up wonderfully, and that was bare primer and bare paint separately. Now, in repainting the house, they don't have the paint and primer so much separately, and in areas that I tried to just paint over the old paint because of the fading, we got better coverage using primer, even when we had paint and primer in one. So, of course, priming it to turn it blue, and then it will match the rest of the house, and I will use less of the expensive bare paint. And the primer that we're using didn't seem to affect the quality as I've been going. It's been the whole summer of painting and working. It bonds really well, and it dries very effectively, and I would say efficiently, not too fast, not too slow. Here in the basement, it's warm. Obviously, I don't want to do this over my new wood floors upstairs, and it would have been a heck of a thing trying to get these long boards inside of anything other than the basement window. So as you can see, it really is 25 degrees outside, but we had to wait for several things: finding the right siding, finding the right thickness, having the funds to do this. We're not financing our projects, and it's all a little bit at a time. So I started to see if I could just fill the cracks with caulk, and it kind of works, but yeah, I didn't like the way it was. So like in here where it was all the way through, it did a very poor job, and this is just too split up. So in replacing these on this wood siding, there's metal caps on the edge here, and we couldn't find this size new. I'm sure somebody has them somewhere, maybe an old hardware store. The lumber yard we went to had a hardware store inside, which was super neat. So to replace the siding, you got to take those off, and he actually has to remove the nails from the last board that's staying right here, because the lap, or the tuck-in part, has to go up into here.
Right, because the siding's actually nailed on the top with this one.
Yeah,
It's just like these. It doesn't look like it when you pull them out. There's 4 nails, not 2. So to get the last one out, you got to pull the nails from above it.
Okay.
See, there's 4.
Yeah. Here.
This right there. They barely got it. So,
but see how nice this original siding was? It's a lot of layers of paint, probably. Well, not as much on the garage.
And then what you end up doing is you take a board. It makes it really nice. You take a piece of hardwood and you flatten these all back out because these all get bent when they put them in, and the bottom ones are always cracked from
no matter what,
renters mowing.
Yeah.
So what you do is you completely reshape that like new again, then, because you're going to paint. See, most of them are worse than this.
Yeah.
It's 100% of the time.
This one had been caught with a mower so badly that it actually tore. So he got it all pressed back in place, and it's not going to get any worse. But this was a job that needed to get done. The whole back is going to be done, and any damaged pieces like this, he'll just pop the whole board out. And you can see how they did it here. They had a long board and a short board all the way up. They have a seam all the way right here, all solid, and a seam all the way here. That's why we went with the 16-footer, so that we wouldn't have the seams. It's better to stagger it more than they did. So these are some tips for you. Don't put a basketball hoop on the back of your garage. I wouldn't even put a basketball hoop on the front of your garage. That's why they got real popular with the portables, because now a basketball hoop can go on the other end and nobody has to jump off of this siding. Tomorrow's going to be 31, and basically today he's just taking these off while I'm doing the painting in the basement, and they'll be hard enough, they'll be hard enough to all go on.
I'll take the siding off too. Hey, will you take your brother Trey and go potty? Every once in a while on a shingle or something you'll find a tag. That's from 1950.
Well, guys, been out here another day, another cold snow. It just was hitting us on the way home last night, but look at that. So we found that tag on the back of one of these boards, and from 1950, he said, and then one of them is stamped BCFP.
I need to be doing these upper nails or not on this because the bottom's so funny. I'm just making sure I'm getting my angle right, because normally your next piece of siding would be this nail.
Okay.
And be closer to the top.
Yep. So if you're not sure about your nailing line, you can see here we've got our nailing line, but any of your boards that are still on, then you know you're hitting the stud in the wall. And we have, you can use a level to make sure it's level, but that doesn't mean it was level in the first place, or that anything else. Use a chalk line. This has chalk inside of it, and you pull out the string and you snap a line, and then, so we started on that end nailing, came to this end, measured from the bottom to make sure it was the same, and then just check for any sagging in the middle to know if you need to raise it up or not, which you could have to change or adjust with each board. So following it, they all seem pretty straight and not warped. It should go fine.
Same every time, but I'd like to know.
Here's all the corners. He cleaned them up, got all the chunky paint off of it.
Straighten them out.
Yep, and we had splitless nails, or it's supposed to help your siding not split. These were a lot cheaper. So the splitless nails were left over from another project, and it was maybe a $10 difference. So we go through every chance we get, every line, and we check to see if we are going straight or not. You might be noticing something a little different here. Well, we knew we had to pull the window out to be able to shim behind it because it was kind of recessed, and this old blackboard was not lining up with it. So we went down, we got some plywood, and we started shimming it. And I said, before we went in, I didn't realize that the window can't be centered because there's a wall stud right here. It really should have had two windows if it was going to have a window. This is your view from in the garage if you have a window. Don't care. Had to frost out the glass anyway. So it would be a lot easier not to have to do all the trim work to just take the window out. And we had the window out anyways. We've got enough 16-foot boards. We're leaving the window out, and we're just gonna go ahead and side the entire back. He has found, occasionally, this has only happened twice, that spiral nail will start to split. And we're leaving these inside and pulling them out one by one. But it is good hardwood, and if you get into a certain spot every now and then, he'll hit that with the drill. And he had a couple of smooth nails left that were the splitless ones, but if you get a spot like that, just stop, drill it, and then stick your nail in. But we didn't want to pre-drill all of them because that spiral is grabbing your wood and tightening it. Got our final piece going on. So one thing that we did different than what the original siding was is he nailed it here at the corner, and their first nail was a little further over, and we weren't sure at the time whether we should start with putting the corner caps on or doing them after. So we decided to do them after, and then about halfway up he realized that they were nailing it in, and it's not a problem, but you can see here we're just notching that to clear the nail. So that was a slight error on our part, but this side is all buttoned up. On a warmer day, maybe we'll be able to get to do a touch up. We did our repair of our broken piece here. That whole section was split 18 feet. So we put one new board and then reused one of the good boards from the back. But this is our new cedar lap siding. It's real great. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Give this guy a thumbs up for being out here freezing all day doing this job. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.